Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra 2, Chapter 2.1 Notes, Part 1. Today we're talking about properties of exponents. Our learning target today is to be able to simplify expressions using the properties of exponents. Now, the notes that we're taking today are on a separate sheet of paper. If you're too lazy to do that, go off on the website and print the handouts from this PowerPoint that we're going through. Okay? All right. Now, reviewing the base and exponents, okay? So, remember that the base is what is in front of the exponent, okay? So for this example right here, my base is just the 2. That's the only thing that's in front of that 2. And my exponent, well, that's the 4, okay? So if we were to write this out the long way, we would only have that one negative, and then it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Okay? Remember, the exponent tells us how many of the bases that we have. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. And so we get negative 16. Okay? Now, the same thing with b, but this time, since it's in parentheses, our base is negative 2, and our exponent is 4. So if we were to write this out the long way, it'd be negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, and oh my gosh. Okay, and this is why we need to know that if we have an even amount of negatives, our answer will be positive. Okay? So, and we just figured out what 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is. We get a grand total of 16. Okay? All right, let's move on to the next one. Now, we have all of our properties of exponents, but let's look at these one at a time. Okay? Now, when we have the same variable and they are multiplying, what you do is you add the exponents, okay? And the reason for that is, well, if we were to write this out in expanded form, x to the 3, we'd have 1, 2, 3. X squared, we'd have 1, 2. Well, how many do you have? Well, you would have x 3 plus 2, which gives you x to the 5th. And guess what? That's how many x's you have right there. You have 5. Okay? Now, that is the exact same thing. So this is the same x3 times x2. Okay? Even though we have parentheses, that still means multiplication. Okay? So that's the same as right there. Now, our next one is when we have division. When we have division, we actually subtract the exponents. Okay? We say, looking at the example, who has more, the top or the bottom? Well, the bottom has more. The bottom has how many more? It has 3 more. We subtracted. Okay, and the ones on the top, they cross out. Another way to imagine this, if we write it out the long way, okay, those cancel, and you're left with 3 on the bottom. Okay? Now, the next example, who wins, the top or the bottom? Well, the top wins, okay? And the top wins by 2. And there's nothing left on the bottom, but we don't write that 1. We would just write x squared, okay? All right, example C. What we have in example C is distribution, okay? We take the a from outside and multiply it by everything that's inside, okay? Multiply. Now, before we do this, we want to know that that 2 and that x really have an exponent of 1, okay? And I'm going to take that 4 and distribute it to everything, okay? Your bases stay the same. We do not change any of that, okay? So we have 2 to the 4th, x to the 4th, and y to the 12th, okay? Whoops. And I can't move on yet because we know what 2 to the 4th is. 2 to the 4th is 16, x to the 4th, y to the 12th. Always simplify your work, okay? All right, and then D. D, when we have the fraction, okay, we still distribute. That A still goes to everything. Okay, we always check to see if we can reduce what's inside the parentheses. Anything that doesn't have an exponent has an exponent of 1. And then we distribute, okay? Our bases stay the same. We are not changing those. The only thing that changes is the exponent. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 to the 4th, y to the 20th. Okay, we have to do 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Well, 3 times 3 is 9. 9 and 9 times 9 is 81. So we get 81 x to the 8th over y to the 20th. Okay, moving on. We've got some practice problems. All right, now, for example number 1, or problem number 1, if you want to write it out the long way, you can. We have 3 2's over there, and we have 2 2's over there. Altogether, we have a total of 5. Okay? The only thing is, I want to know what that is. What's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2? Well, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. And 16 times 2 is 32. Okay? For 2, why don't you guys go ahead and pause the video and see if you can figure that one out all on your own. Good luck. Okay, all you had to do is add the exponents and you get w to the 14th power. Okay, 3, we haven't done a problem like 3 yet, but we have to pay attention to this 5 and the 7, okay? We multiply those guys, okay? It's saying, hey, 5 times 7, you multiply the numbers out front, and when you multiply those numbers, you get 35, okay? And then we add the exponents, and that's where 12 comes from, okay? Now, 4, I want you to once again, I want you to pause it and see if you can do it all by yourself. So good luck. Okay, so what'd you get? How many of you wrote this? A couple? I'm sorry, guys, that's actually wrong. Okay, because we have 8 and 11. Yes, that's 19, but you have 1 right there too. So that's technically negative m to the 20th power. Okay, and we always want to reduce it. And we can actually reduce this one because we have an even amount of negative signs. And if we have an even amount, we know that our answer is going to be positive. Okay, so that's where we get m to the 20th. All right, now we've got some more. Remember that the exponent out front tells us how many of the bases we have. So remember, this is really saying 2 to the 4th times 2 to the 4th. Okay, which gives us 2 to the 8th, which is the same thing as 4 times 2. Okay, Now, the only thing that we've got to do here is we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right? Now, 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 16 times 2 is 32, 32 times 2 is 64. So if you don't know 64 times 2, we get 128, and then we have to do that one more time. 8 times 2 is 16, and we get a grand total of 256. Okay, don't worry, we're not going to give you some big, huge one like 4 to the 9th power or 5 to the 8th power. Okay, that's just mean. All right, 6. Remember that that 8 has a 1 to it, and we distribute. So that's saying 8 squared x to the 6th power. And when you solve that, 8 squared gives us 64 x to the 6th. All right, number 7. You want to distribute first 3 times 4. Well, 3 times 4 is 12. Okay. And then we can reduce that. Once again, 12 is an even number. So we know that we're going to have 12 of those negative signs. So that's why we have a positive n to the 4th. Okay? All right, number 8. Now remember in number 8 that this goes to everything. Okay? And all of those have an exponent of 1. If we were to write that out the long way, we have 1/4 w times 1/4 w times 1/4 w. We don't want to write that over and over and over again. Okay, that's why we have these exponent rules. All right, so 1, 4, and w, and all of those are to the 3rd power. Now, when we write our final answer, 1 to the 3rd power is 1. 4 to the 3rd, 4 times 4 times 4. Well, 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is actually in your multiplication charts. It's 64. W to the 3rd. Okay? All right. Do we have any more? Let's find out. Yes, we do. Okay. So, take a look at number 9 and 10. You always want to simplify inside first. Okay? And you're like, oh, Mr. Grice, how do we do that? Well, look at the x's right there. Okay? Who wins, the top or the bottom? The bottom wins, and the bottom wins by 6. Okay? So now we can go through and distribute. Remember, the 3 and the 8 have an exponent of 1. So we have 3, 8, and x squared, squared, and 6 times 2 is 12. And the nice thing about this is if you simplify from the very beginning, you won't have to simplify your final answer, okay? 3 squared is 9, 8 squared is 64, x to the 12th. Okay? Now 10, I want you to pause the video and see if you can do that one on your own. Good luck. Okay, and there's all your work. The m's, the top wins by 4, so everything on the bottom cancels out. And then we distribute that exponent. 3 to the 4th is 81, and 4 times 4 gives us m to the 16th. Okay? Well, guys, that's it for Algebra 2, Chapter 2.1 Notes, Part 1. As always, if you have any questions, please come see Ms. Carranza or myself. Otherwise, thanks for watching.